Hello, my name is Patrick Finn, and I'm here with Bernardo Pacheco. We work together on the Acting for Cyborg project, and we want to take you through the gestural language we had and the warm-up that we used. And so the goals of this are to use a warm-up drawn from performance work that is designed to improve performance while you're performing, but also to prepare you to make the transition into a new state, and perhaps more importantly, to transition out of it. This means if you do this work, what happens is that your productivity goes up, but more importantly, you're healthy over the long term. And the way I like to explain this, the way we learn it in performance is, if Bernardo is playing a character that is going through something really challenging, a character that maybe is experiencing, terrible things in life, these are the types of performances we often need to do. Bernardo is so good at what he does, he's going to actually experience that as if it were real. That's what we want from our performers. Well, we don't want him to stay in that state when he is done and when he goes home. And so we develop techniques for state change that allow him then to drop the feelings that he's brought to the audience. And that then means he's healthier. It also, as you can imagine, over time, it means he's actually able to do even better work. Because if you feel that you're completely immersed in your state change, if you begin to understand that you have this practice that gets you in and out, you actually can go further into the immersion. And because you're healthy over the long term, you can get better and better and better as you go. So we wanted to bring a simplified version of the warm-up that is used for this type of state change to share with people that are experiencing transition, state change, as they engage with different forms of technology. It could be prosthetic limbs, it could be forms of VR, AR, other types of engaged work in order to help with productivity and again to support healthy engagement with technologies. Okay, so here we go. So what we'll do now is we'll walk through first what we came up with as a stripped down form of warm-up. So for warm-up, really everywhere you go in the world, people have been working on performance, on acting tradition work for more than 2,000 years. In fact, we have almost 3,000 years of recorded work on how to perform. And what you find when you work in this realm, as we do, is that wherever you go in the world, there are certain things that are shared by everyone. There's a conversation that goes on how best to perform, and each community has its own areas of expertise, but we all share a few practices. So the first would be that Bernardo will arrive and he'll find his center. So what he's going to do is he's placing his feet underneath him at about hip width, and he rocks back and forth and side to side to find where he's perfectly balanced. We all, during our daily lives, lean and get into different postures, so we try to find where we are at perfect balance. And as he's doing that, he's connecting his breath to that, to just kind of arrive in this moment. So it's already the beginnings of a state change, and the state change here is from whatever our daily state is, trying to get to a neutral. Now, on the way to that neutral, the next part is a psychological or emotional neutral. And there are a variety of approaches to that. We used an exercise called the face that is drawn from method acting for this. And what this is that Bernardo has been working on seeing a face, on seeing something, someone who's a particularly welcoming figure. And this, I often use the example of my grandmother. This is someone who, if you've just done a terrible thing or if you've just done a wonderful thing, it does not matter. They welcome you with that same supportive feeling. And by seeing that face, just picturing it and trying in your mind to go over the detail, what it does is it brings your emotional state into a kind of a neutral space. Now, the face exercise is actually leans into the positive. I'm using this notion of a supportive face. And in method, we would tend normally to try and actually get to just actual neutral, so a kind of a non-emotional state. I'm leaning more towards the positive in my recent work just because in the world today there's a lot of, say, political and various conversation that I think seems to have people particularly frantic. And so I use this slightly more positive form as a way to kind of calibrate that and get us to neutral. Now, once Bernardo is into the neutral space as he is now, we'll use something that really is common across the globe. And it's used not only by actors, but also by dancers and other performers. And it's called the roll-down. So in a roll-down, as you can see here, Bernardo drops the weight of his head off his spine and then rolls down such that he's releasing each vertebrae as he goes. He organizes his breath along with that work, goes all the way down to the bottom, and then rolls himself back up. The metaphor we use here is that you're, in a sense, restacking your spine and setting your head back up on top of your body. And it's done to integrate breath, psychological state, and physical state and get into a place that is prepared for work. And so if you were to think of, say, an athletic warm-up, that is tending to warm the muscles to get ready for action. The performer warm-up is trying to get you to neutral. We often use the phrase toned. He's trying to get to the place where his instrument, that is his body, his being, his mind, is ready to load in a new state. So he can do this warm-up to get to neutral, and then he might load in the character of Hamlet, or he might load in the character of Han Solo, or he might load in the character of Iron Man. What we do is we get our instrument, we tune it basically, and then we add the music or the performance or the requirements that would be there. So we were sharing this as a way to prepare to become a cyborg. And we're here in the iLab, and behind us here is our friend Baxter, and Baxter the robot collaborated with us so that we were able to become cyborgs. And so what we did is we had the arms from Baxter became additional arms, additional appendages for Bernardo and for Raya so that they could explore becoming a cyborg. We were not working on sort of human-robot interaction in a separated sense, but just because we have Baxter here, we had someone who was able to do the programming. What we were able to do is collaborate to find a way that Bernardo could explore what it's like to have additional arms.